Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday evening, this vPub slot. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. I've done what I can with the checks and everything, but we'll see what we can. Let me know straight away in the chat if you can't hear me, so I can do some like tech check-in and all of that nonsense. But I am keeping track of it all. But yes, thank you for joining me today because here is the last week without a proper vPub. So next week, Roy will be back. That's the first bit of admin anyway. For those who don't know me, I am Vin. This is No Nonsense Whiskey. Thank you for joining me on the channel. Hopefully you're all having a great evening. One of the things I like to do is to do these kind of summer takeovers, if you like. So, Roy goes on his holiday, so he leaves it open. And probably, I don't know how many years now, I've done at least one. It's always something fun to do because I don't really live stream that much. Usually this is a little bit late for me, and it definitely is. So if I look tired, I am tired, but we'll be powering through with some good drams. Hopefully, hopefully a few of you have got some bottles in tow as well. But yeah, as I said, the first bit of admin is that Roy will be back next week. I'm sure you're all acutely aware of that and are very much looking forward to having vPubs back again. Obviously, Jeff covered one a little while ago as well, which is awesome. So yeah, it's just great to be able to do this sort of thing, and it timed out really nicely as well because Roy obviously just released a new set of bottles under his Loch Lomond, and the Barfly symbols are on there. I know some of you don't have them yet, which is unfortunate timing. I did do a little poll before we started to see who has their new Loch Lomonds and is ready for tonight. Actually, it's pretty big. We've got 65 votes so far. 43% do have their bottles ready for tonight, and 57% say no. So that could mean that they either don't have their bottles or that they're not going to open them tonight for whatever reason. Now, I'm hoping to convince you otherwise, but that's entirely up to you guys, of course, because I have mine well open, in fact, because my original intention was to pop them with you guys tonight, but I decided to share them a little bit with my Discord server, a little community I have running there. So I'm running at about half full on all of these already. So that's pretty good. But yeah, so it's a pretty cool that that Roy's managed to put out his, I want to say, 5th bottles now, because I think it was a 1, a 2, and a 2. I've got 3 of them today, but we'll go through them a little bit later on. What I wanted to do then, actually, my theme I'd set before I even found out Roy had some bottles, but I wanted to talk about something that that I kind of know a little bit about. Usually I lean on guests when I do a live stream. I do like interviews, and I have other YouTubers on and whatnot, so to kind of share the talking a little bit. Today I've decided to go completely solo, maybe completely solo, and talk about something that I know about, and that's bottling my own whiskey, which again is convenient that Roy's managed to put a couple out this week. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. What I'll do is I'll end this poll now at 69 votes at that's 41% and 59% respectively. I'll end that poll. I will open it up. I'm not even sure how this works, so we'll see. Q&A. Ask me. I'll put AMA, but don't actually ask me anything. So I've put that on there. However that works. Basically, if you have any questions about this process whatsoever, chuck it in there, and if I see it, I will endeavour to answer the question. I'll pick that up as I'm going along, really, is probably the best way of doing things. But yeah, there's going to be things that I'm going to miss. The big thing that I want you all to kind of know about really is I'm not talking about cask investments. I'm not talking about bottle investments. What I'm talking about is creating a bottle that you intend to sell, basically. There are ways of going about it, but the long and short of all of this is that all you really need is money. is a lot of money, and you can basically do whatever you like. But I'm coming into this stream assuming that, like me, you don't just have grand sitting about, because basically the truth of it all is that anybody can bottle their own whiskey if they know where to go and have the money to do it. That's the real truth of it all. But yeah, we're going to get into it. Before I get into my whiskies, I've got 6 whiskies here today, 3 of mine, 3 of Roy's. All of them are very high ABV. So I'm going to start with a nice little dram of, actually, I've got the Starward Nova, 41%. So I'll say cheers to you guys. Cheers to the Barflies. And hopefully everyone's enjoying their evening. Now, prudent to say hello to the chat, I think. So there's been a lot of you. So if I miss your name, I'm very, very sorry. Actually, I don't even think my chat scrolls up that far anymore. Wowzers. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of people. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I'm going to try and scroll back as far as I can. We have, I'm going to have missed a whole lot of you. So sorry if that's true, because I've got 101 viewers now. Wow, pressure. But I'm going to start from the top of what I've got. If I have missed you, I'm really, really sorry. But as always, the best way of getting my attention is to at me, so that I can see the orange flick up. And again, if I miss a question, whatever, just keep plugging away at me. I'm not used to having this many viewers, so it might go quick. Okay. So we've got Alan Smith is in. Great. He almost thought he was going to miss it, so that's cool that he's actually in. Hellswood, of course. They never miss a vPub, so grand to have you across. Greg's Whiskey Guide. He's going to come up a bit later on. Doodle the Dram. Sugar Kitty, Steve-O, Jimmy Jazz, nice one. He's a channel member, of course. Thank you. Peter Frank, nice one. Thank you very much for coming in. It's great to see so many people in, because obviously this time is good for most people, I think, apart from usually me, to be fair, because it gets on a bit. But the fact that some of the guys on the continent who are even an hour ahead of this is awesome. Oh, wow. I think we've already had a super chat in. Nice. From Highland Hamish. Thank you very much. Thanks for keeping up the whiskey banter. My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. Where did I get to? Jimmy Jazz. Yes. Steve. Jeff's in, of course. Thank you very much for coming in, dude. Congratulations on your 2,000. I know it's a bit of a slog at the moment. Oh, there you go. I caught it a little bit before the chat caught it. But yeah. Do you like this sort of thing popping up? My little Streamlabs software lets me do it, but it's kind of fun. If I miss it, it's handy. But I can always get rid of it. Congratulations, Jeff, for 2,000 on YouTube. It's a real slog at the moment. I will say that it's really difficult to kind of grow at the moment, but keep fighting the good fight, my brother. It's all good. Whiskey and Wine Trails, you're in. Nice one. Thank you very much for coming in. Bence, nice one. Good to see you. Tom Franny's in. Ebhead, yes. Whiskey with Molly, Ben's in. Nice. Andrew Butler, nice one. Good to see you, buddy. Keep scrolling. Tice is in Whiskey Veritas, nice one. Thanks for sharing today on Instagram. Molasses, nice one. Thank you very much for coming in. So many people. Thank you very much for being in this. It's big. It's big. Okay, so I've kind of got a lot to go through today, but really, it's what it's like being a whiskey tuber. So by that, what I mean is people like me, Roy, Jeff, various others that have been around. Really, most of us, I mean, we all come with something. Ideally, we all come with something, but hardly any of us are industry professionals. I know, like for instance, Roy's got a strong marketing background and he uses that very, very well. I just like whiskey. I've got no AV knowledge behind what I've picked up over the last 8 years. So what I mean by that is that people that have started YouTube in one guise or another and have expanded that into creating bottles in one way or another. I'm going to go through my experiences of that but I also want, before I start doing that, I want to touch on what other people have managed to do and different ways of going about it. So for instance, with mine and Roy's, it's basically get in touch with various who bottle something, try and sell it to our audience in one way or another. Now, you could do another way. You could do it like the Liquor Hound, Chris. He's actually just covered this, actually. So he's done one with the Iron Root guys. So I'm lucky to get this, to be honest, because this is one for the US guys. And really, that's a collaboration. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but that's one way of doing it, is to collaborate with something. Greg's Whiskey Guide, he did something very similar, where he sort of essentially became a master blender to create something that's now part of, I think, is it a core range, I think, Greg? But it's out there, it's available to buy, which is pretty cool. You can even go one step further and you could be like the Crowded Barrel guys, aka Whiskey Vault, however you want to call them, Whiskey Tribe. And they basically built their own distillery. Now, that's not going to be for everybody, of course. They're quite lucky because I think that they officially operate as a charity. So I think that they can, they can avoid, I don't know, they can do whatever they want to do. I don't want to sort of insinuate what they are and aren't doing. But they've got a fantastic setup there. And they've obviously managed to go from reviews in a marketing perspective to then creating their own distillery to then making videos about that process, which everyone finds interesting. So that's pretty cool. They can do that as well. And then sort of finally, people like Great Drams, who started out as a website and did some video reviews based on that, but is now pretty much solely an independent bottler, which is again pretty cool. But I think what they do is they sort of own casks and bottle whenever they want, which I'll get into later, supply chain and all things like that. But yeah, I will try to keep on top of questions if anyone has them. So please do chuck them out. Now, I think what's best to do is to go chronological. So the way I did it, which hopefully some of you will know and won't know, I went kind of all in on my first two releases. They came out as a duo, much like Roy tends to do. And I got hopefully you can see that with my terrible lighting setup here. They're doing on that side. So we got these were bottled by Whisky at the time. Unfortunately, they don't kind of really exist anymore, but they do the uncut and unchill filtered podcast now, Whiskey Baron guys. So we had a Dalmore and an Aqvavitaes, which we'll sort of go through one by one. But here you'll notice that, I mean, this is realistically, this is my label. You know, I didn't really design it. I just gave them a brief about what I liked and what I didn't like. But this is me on the back. You know, these are my words. This is my signature. But to do it this way is really quite expensive. But there it is. The way these two worked was I worked with a company. So it's you get in touch with somebody who can bottle, somebody who owns casks, and somebody who can do stuff for you. Because there's some laws. We'll get into some laws later on because that's important. But what they did for me is they had stuff, and this tends to be quite typical on how if you want to do it like the way we do it. They have stuff already. Very rarely, like Roy's bottles. We've got here a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old. Well, this channel didn't exist back then, so he definitely didn't put that in a cask, which is fair enough, right? So far, I haven't done that either. Maybe soon, but you have to kind of pick from some stock. I wanted to do it blind, so they sent me something like 20 samples, and over the course of a couple of weeks, I went through them, decided on what my favorites were, and that kind of just stuck. So it ended up being this Dalmore 9-year-old, which is one of the palest things you'll ever see, but why not? And an Aqvavitaes 6-year-old, both at cask strength, which was all part of it. Now, that was brilliant because I got my name on some bottles. Everyone seemed to really enjoy them. They're very interesting whiskies, I find anyway. The Dalmore especially is like, it's kind of a dead cask. So you'll never taste Dalmore like you can with independent bottlings, because what they do to it in their marketing department is not what their distillate really is. Pete Ed was saying that was a great dram, and the Aqvavitaes, because that was a cheaper one. That ran for about 45 quid, and the Dalmore was 75 quid. Now that's kind of one of the pitfalls of doing it this way, because I worked with a company and I didn't give them any cash up front. It meant that I didn't really have a whole heap of control over how much it was being sold for, where it was being sold, and how much like the shipping was, for instance, which is a good example, because that's really what the downfall of that first two releases was, that the shipping was quite expensive, but that was the policy of the website it was sold on, and I genuinely couldn't do anything about that. So although it was great to have that I got to choose the liquid and I got to have creative input on the bottles and the labels and whatnot, that's really where sort of my control ended, which is its own trick, its own thing. It has its bonuses and not. So yeah, that's where we are with that. So what I am going to do is taste this first one. Hopefully some of you have still got this. I know some of you have, but probably not. I won't dwell on mine too long, don't worry. Yeah, it's like a 60% Dalmore. That cask literally, we look at that cask gave absolutely nothing to it after 9 years. And although that's worked out really well for me, we got something else. Subscribe. Nice one. I like that. yeah, that's the first time it comes up with me. But I didn't know it did that for subscriptions, but we'll do that. So yeah, that was, for me, this was a real winner in the blind tasting, and the fact that it turned out to be a Dalmore that I could sort of describe as a stripped back Dalmore was absolutely fantastic. Completely happenstance. I didn't go out intending to pick that, which is something you can do. We'll get into that a bit later on again as well. So I'm saying that a lot, but we will get into some stuff a bit later on. But yeah, absolutely fabulous that was. Followed up very quickly, obviously at the same time, by the Aqvavitaes. Now this one went down with you guys a lot better because obviously, the colour is a little bit more interesting. The price was a little bit more on point, 45 quid. And again, it was a way of tasting Aqvavitaes like you wouldn't be able to, which is probably my favourite thing about independent bottling, is that you can try distilleries in a way that you wouldn't ordinarily get to. Obviously, there are plenty of choices out there now for independent bottles. So many choices. So the fact that you guys would even think to buy our bottles is incredible. But that's the important part, right? I should, probably should have said it at the start, but you guys are the important part in this process, because if we've got nobody that wants to buy our bottles, then we wouldn't be able to make these bottles. It's a fact. Thanks for the subscription. Cheers. Yeah. Firing through these a bit. But that one there, I mean, this is getting low now. I've got my number one bottles back there of all three of my releases so far. I'll be keeping those. They'll be sealed for whatever. I don't know what I'll keep them for. I don't know. I'm not really into keeping whiskey, but it seems like a good idea to keep them for somebody, maybe my daughter later on in life. But we shall see. We shall see. A few of you talking about starting off with the Loch Lomond. Absolutely. While I'm gassing on about my own whiskey, please feel free to do as you will. I will be talking about these Loch Lomond's a bit later on, because that's what you guys are here for, right? So it's yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. Whiskey Vault's asking, how did you decide when it was ready to bottle? Would you have liked to mature one of them for a bit longer? Now, that was the interesting thing about this. So that's not really how I decided about those first two, because I was given samples as was, snapshot in time. There was, as I said, I got about 20 different samples. So there was 18 that didn't fit the bill for me. And if I owned those casks, then I probably could have said, well, maybe another year or whatever. But because, I still don't know what those 18 were. I never asked, because that was the whole point of it all. It's like, it's like, it'd be like something like not putting your lottery numbers down on 1 week and never knowing if it was yours or not. So I'd do a lucky dip if I was ever going to play the lottery. But yeah, I sort of intentionally didn't know what they were. So I just picked the ones that I really, really liked, and that was the snapshot. What I do know is that they split the cask. So I got 100 bottles of each of these, and they split the cask, and that somewhere there's a cask where the rest of it is. It's not my cask. So that's the other really important thing about this, is about sort of the legalities of it all. So now that we've been sort of mentioning that, I will go into it. But people like me and Roy, Ralphie, who of course has put his own bottles out. There's a couple of guys in the US as well. Scotch for Dummies, I think, have done it. Mash and Drum have done it. Obviously, Liquor Hound and Whiskey in the Six, I think, have done it. Let me know below if anybody else you can think of has done it. I did try to do some research, but that's all I could find in terms of people that. Now, in the UK, we have to be super careful about handling and selling alcoholic products, because you need licenses. You need a personal license, which actually I do have, by the way, but that still doesn't qualify you to sell on any premises. That premises needs to have a premises license as well, and that is expensive. So I won't get into the ins and outs on how you achieve that, but technically you could achieve it in your home, but you need to be able to provide information about how you're going to prevent crime, how you're going to prevent fire, the risks that are involved in it. 'Cause obviously, personal consumption behind me here, that's fine. I can do whatever I like. But if I suddenly start creating a warehouse here and start shipping whiskey out of my house, I need to be licensed. Very, very, very unlikely to be granted for a residential property unless you have an outbuilding, like a garage or whatever. But again, you'd need to retrofit that with proper security, like, locks, doors, cameras, alarms. You'd need fire suppression systems, all of this stuff, because we're dealing with flammable liquid. So if you were going to take this seriously, be someone like Great Drams, you're probably going to want your own warehouse. Now, you can rent space in a warehouse, which is what I did, incidentally, for the third release, which I'll get to in a moment, where literally the whole shipment comes in, they warehouse it, and then they ship it on again. So you don't touch it. That's the really important part of this. Now, if you're going to buy a cask and have it bottled for personal consumption, then you don't need licenses. You don't need WOWGers, which we'll get into, not really, but a little bit later. You don't need any of that, because you just buy the bottles and have them at your home. However, if you charge someone for those bottles, now I'm not going to go on record and say here that you'd get away with it, but I can almost guarantee you that nobody's going to care about one or two disappearing here and there, unless somebody calls the council on you, which actually did happen to me, by the way. But luckily I didn't do that. So I kind of got my head in the game beforehand and thought better check out some things. So there is that you have to be really careful of, because you can very quickly, especially people like us that have got our channels and our little brands that are going, you could lose all of that very quickly if you fall wrong side of the law. Now, I know that Roy's done something very similar, so he's obviously got Loch Lomond to produce his bottles. They're bottled under the Loch Lomond brand with a few little nice things on the labels, and then they're being sold by a shop. So apart from the bottles that Roy's getting, I imagine he doesn't see a single bottle, which is ideal. That's the way to do it. The problem there, of course, is the more people you introduce into the supply line, the more people want their percentage. And that really does only affect you guys, is the truth of that. And sometimes it's only little bits here and there, but that all gets passed on to the consumer as best we can. People like me for sure, Roy for sure, we fight the good fight in the background, trying to reduce those costs throughout. And often it's the producer that will take the hit on that, because the people like, maybe the shop as well. So people like the warehousing, they're going to want their bit. Royal Mail, they're going to want their bit. You can't skimp on those prices. Packaging costs real money at those volumes. Like if you're buying 10,000 boxes, you can get them for 10p each. But if you're buying 100 boxes, then you're paying probably £1.50 each or something like that. I don't know, whatever the prices are. So you have to factor all of that in, which is really, really important, because what you don't want to do, obviously, is be in a loss for it. And you want you guys to enjoy it as cheap as possible. So yeah, that I wasn't able to do with the first two releases. Now, however, the second release technically, but the third bottle I did, this one is a slightly different story. Hopefully a little bit more interesting. This one here is this side, remember? This one here is a McMira. It's a ½ litre. And we picked this in a sort of interesting way. Now, the first one, obviously, I did that blind. No questions yet at the moment. Nope. Yeah. Obviously, I picked that blind. This time round, I did it slightly differently. I found out about McMira's 30-litre cask program, and that's a very good way of doing this, because you get about, what did I get? 58 bottles out of that 30 litres. And I could have got more if I'd have reduced the ABV, but I didn't want to. In fact, that's actually a little bit of a mistruth, because this one here was already in glass. The way this worked, I got in touch with them. Oh, Ben says, I'm not sure the questions are working. No, I don't think they are. Right, I'm going to end that Q&A then, because that's pants. Yeah, okay. So if you did have a question and it went into that Q&A and it didn't work, then please chuck it out back into the chat again. Sorry about that. That's the first time I've tried that. So I'm using the chat. I haven't got the video up. I've got the chat in Punch Out. So that's probably what's caused that. But never mind. Right. So I got in touch with McMira. Really like McMira. Always have liked McMira. Fantastic distillery. Unfortunately, they pulled out of the UK a couple of years ago, but they are back. courtesy of Somerton Club, Dan. He's bringing them back. He's now going to be their official importer. So you're going to start seeing them knocking around on social again pretty soon, hopefully. So a couple of questions came in. So Hells asks, what will be your next release and when? Definitely we'll be talking about that in just a moment, because after my third release, I do have something in the pipeline and I am working on other things in the background for sure. Ben is asking, would I do it again or is it not worth the hassle? That's two different sides of the same coin for sure. It is a big hassle, and it depends on what you want to do with it, is the truth. I was literally just talking to someone about this the other day. If you want to do this as a whiskey tuber, I'm talking specifically, or even just you guys, if you want to do this with the idea of making money, I definitely do not recommend it, because there is next to no money in it at all, because any profit comes directly from you guys. Because, like I said, you've got all your costs from all the way through, all your costs, and then right at the end, if you want to make some money off of it, you've literally on your spreadsheet, you've got to go add 5%, 10%, whatever. And I know many of you wouldn't care about that, because you'd think, well, I'm helping the channel. But the reality of it is, it just puts the price up. It just puts the price up. And people like me and Roy, we don't want to do that. We want you guys to have good whiskey for cheaper. We'd rather you contribute to us in a different way, like Patreon or, all these, little super chats and things like that. I think is probably the truth of it, because we'd build up the capital a different way, basically. Yeah. So yeah, if you were into it for cash, it's definitely not a good way of starting a business. I don't think, unless you're all in and you've got your premises, you control the supply line, you've got your labeling all sorted. If you've got all of that, then fair enough. But there's too many people that want their bit, I think. So, I'm gonna answer the rest of the questions. Any projects to open a bottle an English whiskey in future? This is Greg. To make it more local could be interesting. Just an idea. Yes, I have explored looking at English whiskey, but it's not really that available at the moment. I know Cotswolds do a thing, so I have been talking to them a little bit, but it's, for me, the truth of it all is payment terms, because I don't have the ability to pay $6,000, $10,000 up front, which a lot of businesses want. They want that up front and they want it ready to go, and then you can recoup your money later. The way I want to do it, which is difficult for a lot of people, is that I want to be able to agree on the bottle, be invoiced, but then have terms of like 60 days, which then gives me 2 months to get it to you guys and get cash flow coming the other way, so that I can pay the invoice off. Risky, because if it doesn't sell, then I still have to pay the invoice, but it's basically the only way. It's basically the only way. But yeah, Greg's saying it's not cheap. Yeah, you wouldn't even believe it, mate, because if you put a name like Bunnahabhain on it, then you're talking upwards of 10k, 15k for a good aged 300-litre cask. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Okay, a bit more information about this McMira then. Sorry. So they sent me 5 samples, 100 ml of each one, and I broke that down. And I decided this time round, rather than picking whiskey that I liked, which I know is fine, I'm going to be invaded by Cat now. So if this all shakes, then hello, Cat. So if lost my train of thought. So yeah, I didn't want to pick it as if it was just for me. I wanted it to be a little bit more of a committee vibe. So I invited 4 sets of people to come on stream. I sent them the drams. Didn't tell them what they were. I think it was fairly obvious, because a couple of them were Peters, a couple of them weren't. And we went through each one. And the truth of that story is, I did try my best not to lead them, but maybe I did a little. But we got on video and we went through each one, and each one was like, that's fine. We like that. Yep. This could definitely be a thing. Next one. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, I like it. Argue about whether we like this one better or that one. We got to the 5th one, and every single person on the video stopped what they were doing. They drank it, they tasted it, and every single person sat in silence for a good 30 seconds. And then there was like, this is the one. Call over. This is the one. And that's the one I bottled. Again, so technically this was sitting in a bottle. So what they did was, McMira, they knew that they were onto a winner with this. This is only a 3-year-old McMira, 30-litre cask, smoky, in there from their mines. They bottled it after 3 years, and it sat there for probably 2 years. And everybody who went on the cask program ignored it because it was only 3 years old. And it's, to my recollection, it's still the highest ABV Madeira that was commercially available at 59.1%. Yeah. And everyone ignored it, but it was fantastic. The pitfalls of this way of doing it were that it's quite expensive to do it in such small volumes. This was 58 quid for a half litre, which was a big ask for many people, although it did sell out, which I'm grateful of. But it meant that I had more control over when it was sold, where it was sold, because I sold it on my website. I had more control over how much it was being sold for. I even sort of designed the label, you can see here. So this is their stuff, their information. But here, unfortunately, it's all grimy because of my rubbish camera. Everyone who pre-ordered it, like I said, the way we raised capital for this one was to put it out for sale 2 months before it was released, pretty much. Everyone who pre-ordered it got their name on this bottle, which I think really helped. And the yellow ones were Patreon subscribers, which was pretty awesome. So they've always got that. I think a couple of them even bought 2 bottles, which is epic. The pitfalls of that one were that I forgot one part of the calculation of all of it, and that was I forgot to include the PayPal percentage on people that bought it. It was like 2.5% or something like that, which actually was my entire profit margin of the whole thing. So anyone who bought it through PayPal and not through Stripe, it actually ended up costing me money. Technically, it was only a few quid in the end, but yeah, truth be told, so you have to be really, really careful. Your maths have to be on point, because one of the things I wanted to talk about really was in the costing point of it is all of the different costs that go in, because when you're quoted prices right from the start, what you're quoted is the cost of the liquid and maybe bottling, maybe labeling, but all of these things cost money. If the company you're working with don't own the bottling hall, they've got to book a slot at the bottling hall because they are busy, these things. And that could be weeks, it could be months, whatever. You have to book a slot and get your bulk liquid up there and ready to bottle. But you need to then buy the bottles, you need to buy the labels. It's not much money for one label, but for 100 labels that are bespoke printed, it starts to get expensive. You've then got your duty, which is incredibly expensive. It's almost as much as the liquid itself. Once you've done all of that, you've got to ship it. Then you've got to pay the warehouse to keep it. You've got to pay the warehouse to pick it and pack it. Usually that comes to about £1.50 per item. And then you've got to pay Royal Mail at the end, like I said. So all of these have to be factored in to make sure that you don't accidentally lose money, but also that you guys get a good deal. Is the truth of it. There you go. So the next one then that we need to talk about, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to have a sip of that because it's peated. I'll save it till later. I'll have a sip of me Starwood instead. That's a lot of information. So sorry about that. Hopefully you're finding that interesting. The question earlier was, what about the future? So another way that you can do all this. So there are plenty of routes to this. It is actually, I would say, surprisingly accessible. Like I said at the start, if you've got £6,000 burning a hole in your pocket, you could have a bottle with your label on it within 3 or 4 months, probably. Because there's stuff sitting there ready to go, genuinely sitting there ready to go. Sometimes it's in bottles already, because if they've got it in a cask and the people that own the cask, if they test it and they go, damn, this is good, we don't want to risk it over oaking just because we haven't got a buyer, they'll bottle it. So it might just be sitting there in a bottle already, and you just need to sort out all the fine print. So the final way of doing it then is to fill a cask. So I have done this. It's with In the Welsh Wind, so not quite English, Welsh. In the Welsh Wind. Didn't know that I was going to do this. I just went to visit them when I was on holiday one time, and I was really impressed with their liquid. It's very different, I will say that. So anybody who here is like big Scotch fans, they might not enjoy my next release, but it is going to be very, very, very different. So hopefully you will like it. But here's some of the key things. So I don't own the cask, and this is very common when you do this sort of deal, because if you own the cask, you then have to have this thing that's called a wauger. WOWGR, which is, I don't know, warehousing and warehoused goods regulation or something like that. It's not a license. It's getting your name on a list to say that you are a capable and responsible person. Actually, Mark Littler does a really, really good video on whether you need one or not. Ultimately, if you're a private owner, if any of you want to buy a cask, if any of you own a cask and your intention is not to be a revenue generator, a revenue trader, then you don't need this thing. But if your intention is to bottle that up and sell it, then you definitely need one. You know, you're dicing with the law if you're doing it. And obviously, this is a risky way of doing things as well, because casks break, casks leak, and sometimes they don't even know it. They're at the back of a warehouse for a long old time. Usually, you get some insurance with it as well. Usually, and this is why we, as a collective, we say avoid whiskey investment programs, because what they're selling you is often fictional at worst, because it's a certificate of a barrel, cask, whatever, that's sitting up in Scotland that you'll never see, and the idea is that it'll just make money for you. That has happened in the past, and it does happen today. But these programs you have to be really wary of them, because they could just, right at the last minute, they could just say, "Oh, that cask was spoiled. Sorry, here's your money back." Because that's all they have to give you. They have to give you your money back, your initial investment, not the true value or whatever it would be now. So yeah, owning a cask, which technically I don't. I own the liquid inside. You have to make that clear. Has its own risks, but it's fun. I got to go and fill that myself. That's been aging. Actually, I have reaching over here. I've got my 2 cask samples here, my 1 year and my 2 year. Give you an idea. So in June this year, it was 2 years old. So next June, it'll be 3. It's only a 30-litre cask, only a wean. And that actually, in the Welsh Wind, do a really great program where you can pay for that monthly. So I few hundred quid a month for a year, and then the cask was bought. The liquid was bought. I need to keep saying, not cask. But I'm really excited about that. It's going to be very different, and they're going to basically do all that for me, but I'm going to have to do all the costs, blah, blah, blah. You'll hear about it next year. It is risky, is the big one, because you stand to lose a bit of money, but there it is. There it is. Something else I'm working on. I can't go into details because it really hasn't gone anywhere, but I've started talking to various different bottling companies. There are a few of these around. I won't name names today, but what they do, traditionally they bottle their own whiskies as well, but anybody can literally call them up and buy. Usually it's bottled, so you never own the cask. They'll just bottle it when it's ready, or if it's not bottled already, label it for you and sell it. So it's similar to what we've done before. But that is simply a case of getting your price list, trying your whiskies, deciding on your whiskey, paying for it, getting it out there. So yeah, there you go. That's really a very quick run through of my initial thoughts on being an indie bottler, but hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight into what we do to get this happening. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with it, for sure. But most of what I've said today will give you some thought processes to go and look into it further if you're interested in doing so. Like I said, for you guys out there who probably aren't intending to sell them, you don't have to worry about a lot of it. You can just go and buy a cask and do whatever you want with it after that. Like the McMeras, traditionally, technically you're not meant to sell those. I don't think, but we worked it out in the background at great expense to McMera to try and make it happen. So they probably lost a little bit of money. But yeah, what we'll do now then, I think we'll probably talk about the Loch Lomond's. But I don't really know these whiskies that well. So what we probably need is an expert on that. I don't know what you guys think. So if he's ready, we'll bring him in. There he is.
Am I in?
You're in? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, buddy. How are you?
I am very well. Yeah. It's late. It's late for me. As you, I know you're old hat to this now, but
Yeah, it's not late for me at all. If anything, it's later. I'm going later at night during the holidays. I need to get back into the rhythm and getting up early. When the kids go back to school, that'll happen. But it's brilliant to be here, and it's smashing to be in here with all of these folk that I've missed so much over the last few weeks. Seems longer than 5 weeks, doesn't it? Well,
yeah.
for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's great that you're able to do it. To be honest, I've often considered doing a kind of like a bit of a break every now and again, and really what I do now is I just wait until I'm sensing the signs of burnout, and then I have a couple of weeks rather than a big chunk.
Yeah.
So it's
I wonder what I'd do if it happened, if the burnout came before the break, right? But I think that's the trick of it all, just to take the break. Promised my wife that would be the case way back in 2018 or whenever it was this all kicked off. And I've stuck to it ever since. And I have to say she was right. It's the right thing to do. You miss it. You wonder what you're doing on a Thursday night. You worry that people are going to leave and find other distractions. And you worry that things will decay or something, all of these things. But honestly, you just, especially when the vPubs are weekly and you're trying to come up with content every single week, then you know the drill, don't you? To try and come up with thoughtful, valuable, original-ish content all the time. So yeah, it really does help to take a wee summer break. And but thanks for bringing me back into things a wee bit early, and I can get used to sitting in front of a camera again.
It's my pleasure, because I mean, like we were talking about the other day. Obviously, the intention was to go through these as it happened, perfect timing, and then it made more and more sense. It's like, well, I can talk through these as a reviewer, but the experience of bottling these, the experience of being there with Michael, is yours. So I mean, obviously, Pete, you would be able to do this next week. I'm sure you will when you're talking to your actual guys when you're doing your proper vPub.
No, there isn't an intention. This is actually nice for you to do this because there wasn't an intention for me to do this on a public vPub because it's listening to you go through your process and all the anxieties and the little barriers and things you had to get over and stuff. You never mentioned imposter syndrome, but it's definitely part of it, right? Well, will anyone even want these? So you kind of go through all of that kind of stuff. And then in the end, you feel like you're overcommitting, and then you work out that you haven't got enough to go around. So I kind of feel bad that this is the first release that didn't make it to public at all. The patrons and Barflies mopped it all up before it went out into the Facebook page or public purchase beyond that. So it stayed within Patreon, made it out to YouTube Barflies, and they mopped up the rest, and it was gone. So when a cask will only yield a limited amount of liquid, and when I want to keep it, same as you, Vin, we want to keep it at cask strength so that people can do what they want to do with it at home and add their own water and things. And plus the fact we've sampled it at cask strength, it means that it's just going to yield that much, and that's it. So, I'm grateful to everyone's. I've not had any complaints or anything yet. I think most of the people that really, really, really desperately wanted it managed to get a hold of it. I hope that's the case. But it just means that hopefully there's going to be a lot of sharing going on in the community, that people can get wee samples and sips. Ensign Ewart in Edinburgh, and of course the world famous Bonaccord in Glasgow are both pouring these from behind the bar, so you can walk into either of those pubs and try a dram as well. But listen, it'd be interesting. Would it be worthwhile me talking about my process versus what you went through?
Oh, 100%. I mean, yeah, definitely, because obviously the first one you released was the 10, wasn't it? The way back when did you release those? That must have been 2-3 years ago now, right?
The first one,
the first Loch Lomond, that was your first one, right?
Yeah, it was. So that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But what it actually started at Ardnamurchan, and the way you went through and talked about your trials and tribulations there's a lot of similarities, because it was the community that came to me shouting loudly about we should get a cask. And there was a lot of chatter in the community about how they could do that, and some people had lists. Some people were being offered lists once they read that it was a thing. And I stepped in at that point and I said, please be patient. If there's going to be a bottle with my name on it, I want to do it. Trust me, and I'll get something worked out. But of course, you look at these lists, as we both have been doing, and I worked out, looking at 2 lists, that when you're offered the exact same cask on 2 different lists at 2 different prices, you're far away from the source, right?
Yep.
So I kind of dropped it and asked around and tried to work out what I could do to try and make it efficient, because it's a wonderful community-wide thing to do, but you don't want people paying through the nose for the privilege. So way back in 2021 at Ardnamurchan, we had obviously bought our own casks. We the Bottle Chasers casks. Gregor, Sevi, Scotty, and myself had got together and bought a peated cask and an unpeated cask, and we were really quite excited about all of that. Then I went up to Ardnamurchan to do the live stream, and the next day, I don't know, I just felt like my tail was in the air or something, and I just asked Alex Bruce, after explaining to him how far I was away from the source, if he would be interested in doing a collaborative bottling at some point for my community. Without a heartbeat, he said yes. And I couldn't believe my luck. I couldn't believe that a company, a distillery with the prestige and standing of Ardnamurchan would be interested in working with me. So I was really chuffed. The only conditions were that we picked the cask together, and that I was patient and waited, because they have lots and lots of people to service on a list of people. And of course, there's no rush for this. What happened in the meantime is that I realized through that exercise that in order for me to get to do this, I have to go straight to the source.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go straight and ask, and I have to work with companies, distilleries, producers who are interested in my community, our place, Finn. They understand the culture and everything that what we do, and why it's so much fun to do these things, and how it might actually benefit them a little bit too. It's got to be a mutual benefit there. So I started to speak to certain producers and started to get quite some positive responses with the same caveats. Let's choose it together, and please be patient. We've got lists longer than our arms of people that are waiting for single casks. Yeah, no problem. One of them was Loch Lomond. And Loch Lomond delivered samples very quickly, within a few weeks. And that was exciting, and it meant that it could potentially happen quicker than the Ardnamurchan one. In the end, that absolutely happened, because anyone that knows the story of the lost mystery Ardnamurchan cask meant I had to go through the process a second time. Bad luck for me, getting to go back to Ardnamurchan a second time and sip from cask samples, right? So Loch Lomond came around a wee bit earlier. I was given 6 blind samples with a sealed envelope, which I sipped and sipped and I sipped and I sipped. And every single time there were 2 in my top 2 favourites that were clearly my favourites. One was very different from the other, but they were very much my favourites. The only thing that connected all of those 6 samples were they were all Chardonnay yeast, because of, I don't know if I kept one out. You might remember the COVID year, 2020, when there wasn't an open. Loch Lomond released this, the 12-year-old open release, Chardonnay yeast, and it just completely redefined how I viewed Loch Lomond. I loved the stuff, really loved it. Most people I speak to enjoyed that bottle. So there were some Chardonnay yeast casks available, and that's what I sampled. I opened the sealed envelope to find out what they were, to discover that Michael Henry, who's the master distiller, the master blender at Loch Lomond, had also listed his favourites. We both picked the top 2 favourites, but then this is a big deal. They were reversed. Mm-hmm. My second favourite was his favourite, and vice versa. So what to do, right? Imposter syndrome? How dare I go up against? But no, I picked my favourite. So the 10-year-old that went out in 2022 was my favourite. That's it there. You can see how, well done. You've got more than me, look.
Just about, yeah. That goes at the back of my cabinet behind the guard whiskies.
That's right. You've got to hide it. Yeah, I do have another one, but I'm not in a hurry to open it. So we we went ahead and we bottled that as a 10-year-old first fill bourbon. And Michael had suggested to me, or just kind of softly mentioned, that the other casks that I'd sampled were, nothing had been done with them. They were kind of they were under his supervision, let's say, and they were still there. When we toured Loch Lomond in late 2023, and I was there with one or two people from the community, Whisky with Molly was there, Ben, our mutual pal Ben, Scotch photographer, was there, the Lees were there, Jimmy Legg and his wife were there. Michael pulled out a few samples, and didn't he just tease us with the fact that some of them were samples from those original samples that we were all talking about? And they were fabulous, just fabulous, just fabulous. And I had it in my head that I need to keep the variety. I need to have a different release from a different distillery all the time. And I thought, these are ready now. So I just asked Michael, do you think there's a possibility for us to do this project where we could tell the story of the original bottling and then bring out the sister cask and the exact same product in a refill cask with 2 years plus 2 years maturation on both? I think that's a fantastic thing to offer the community. And he just went quiet, right? He just, I'll see, I'll look at it. So obviously he has to go to the people internally. He has to check that everything's a possibility, that it's within their interests as well, I suppose. But they came back and said, here you go, we can go ahead with the project as you propose. Here are the prices. Fantastic. What a wonderful thing. And what it means is, again, is because of how quickly Loch Lomond operates and the fact that they've got their own bottling and everything like that, that it could happen at a reasonably quick time frame. Having said that, that's probably September last year to when did it release? 5th of August this year.
Oh, yeah.
So still 10, 11 months. Still takes a long time. But we're here. And, spoilers, I don't want to... I would obviously not be bringing anything out that I didn't believe in. But I'll be honest, sitting down here, poured from the bottles, the three of them next to each other, this is the first time I've done it. Nice. And I'm just so happy, so happy. But another thing you touched on, buddy, was the licensing, the legality of it all. We need partners for everything. We need
it's
partners
a minefield.
To distill, to mature, to bottle, to retail, to ship. Everything you need. So I've been very, very fortunate there that the team at Royal Mile Whiskies, who just happen to be able to ship pretty much everywhere that it's legal to ship, have stepped forward and kind of offered a support package there. It's a big deal because they can sell bottles all day long and make their margin on it. As soon as they get in cahoots with anyone, that means that there's a division of margin. They've got to pay me a commission that otherwise they wouldn't have to pay anyone. And anyone that they collaborate with is probably in the same mind. So then it's like a double whammy. You go back to the producer to ask if they can discount a little bit. And then you've got the cheek to go to the retailer and ask if they can discount a little bit. Why? Because of what we do. We criticize pricing all week long, right? All day long. Every week, week in, week out, we criticize pricing. So for us to release into the market with amped pricing would be tone deaf. So in order to keep the prices as aggressive as possible, you work with them. Loch Lomond were very fair. Royal Mile Whiskies, again, were very fair. And we've got a product where the 12-year-old has gone out at the same price as the 10-year-old of 2 years ago. And the 14-year-old has gone out at, about £5 more?
Yeah.
Which I think is just terrific value. Single cask, gorgeous whiskey for those prices. So thanks to Royal Mile Whiskey, and I think they did an amazing service. Do you know that? How many days do you think it took them to ship to New Zealand?
Oh no, I heard about this. It was insane, right? Wasn't it like 4 or 5 days?
3 or 4 days it was in New Zealand. Amazing. Now, I know there's people in the States and things still waiting. There'll be people at different places using different services that they don't get it like that. But a lot of people were waking up the day after they'd ordered to have it on their doorstep and things in the UK. The service was spectacular. I only hope that people have been able to leverage, buying a bottle extra to get I don't know, to reduce shipping costs or to make it free or something. And Royal Mail Whiskies has done a turn out of it as well, because their service was exemplary. It was stunning to witness. Anyway, that's how I managed to do it, and it's through the, you know, contacts and trust and people who understand what you're about, what we're about, and us bringing products from producers that we believe in. I think that's how it's worked out, and it's been just amazing, just amazing. I hope that people are enjoying it. I really do. Have you opened both of yours, buddy?
Oh yeah, I mean, to give you an idea, so the 12, that's my fill level on the 12 now, because I opened it, and so like I said earlier, the intention was to open these on stream today, but but when I thought about it, there were, I mean, I was in the same boat. Two come in at the same time was a real cost factor. So there was a few people on my Discord that just couldn't do it. So I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna send them samples. So I got together, I think probably what was half the bottle, right? 350 mils worth. I divvied out to my community. So hopefully they're tasting along today, and hopefully a lot of people have popped it. But yeah, these are both of these.
And I knew that you would do that. I know what you're like, fella. I really appreciate it. That's really, really kind of you. That's amazing that you should, because now you've only got half a bottle for your own, to hide behind your own guard whiskies, right?
Absolutely.
But that's amazing. I really appreciate it, buddy.
But that's what it's all about, right? And you know, that's what I touched on earlier as well, is that the striving force behind my bottles, and I mean, I'll put a heavy wager on your bottles as well, is to get great whiskey into the hands of good people for as little as possible. You know, these. I think you've probably had some of your bottles turn up on auction sites. My experience of that is that I've had all three of my bottles now have turned up on an auction site at one point or another, and all three of them have sold for way less than the RRP, and I could not be more happier about that.
Well, I mean, I hope people need to work out that if something sells out in a few minutes, then there's a chance there's going to be lots of people screaming for it, and there's a chance it could do a turn on auction sites. But we're probably going to be trying to pick these bottles at a scale that kind of suits our community. And we're selling only really to our own community. Okay, there are lots of Loch Lomond fans out there that don't pay any attention to you and I. Lots of McMeera fans that don't pay attention to you and I. Lots of Ardnamurchan fans that may be interested in these bottles beyond that. But I put it to you that it's folly to buy these are bought for very, very kind of niche, collaborative, fun, community focused things. If they end up in auction, they end up in auction. There's nothing we can do about it. But hopefully people won't continue to do that going forward when they realize that they're not making any money.
Yeah. And that's why I couldn't be happier that it went for that, because that's not what I want these to be. Like you said, you know, like I mean, both of mine made it out kind of wider, and the last thing I want is people scrabbing for it. I always want, like you do, the closest communities. For me, it would be Patreon, and then out into Discord first, and then further, because they're the core audience. You know, they're the ones that I want to have it. And if there's more after that, then great. And if there's not, maybe next time I'll try and do a larger volume. But if it went on auction and made loads and loads of extra money, that would only make me feel like somebody somewhere lost out. You know, some poor sod who wanted the bottle, who couldn't get it, and has now had to pay well over the odds to get it, and that makes me sad. I wouldn't want that to happen.
I think we both agree. So, I mean, I think that we have, you know, I don't know if you feel a bit bad, but you have to prioritize the people that have stepped forward to support you, because they're stepping forward to support you and hope that you endure and you continue. They're not. I don't think they're stepping forward in order to get privileges and things like that. But you have to find ways of thanking them and saying, "Look, thank you for your support. Here are the bottles." And I did it. I guess if you did it that way, I did it the exact same way. Vin came out once it went out of Patreon. It went into the YouTube Barflies through the community posts. A link went in there as well. And in the end, it's mopped up and sold out, and it's gone. And I don't, until I figure out a better, a fairer way to do things, that's kind of the way it has to be. So we're there. Are we all poured? Have you poured all three of these together?
I have, yeah. And actually, I will say probably for the last, more evenings than I'd care to admit, I've done the same thing, you know, to make sure that because like I said, the original plan was to say something intelligent about these myself before I got you on. So yeah, I've drank these three side by side for probably at least 3 or 4 evenings now. And in my opinion, this is where it's going to get dangerous, because that's the only way to do it now for me. So when I reach for one of these in the future, I'm going to have to dig out all 3 of them.
Triple drams.
Yeah.
Oh, you just need to pour smaller measures, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, people are going to ask me what my favourite is, and I'm going to do the exact same as I did with our Ardnamurchan pair last year. I'll keep it quiet until they've all gone, and then I'll start when I see you personally and we're sharing a dram together. I'll share what my favourites are. But right now in the Loch Lomond's, I'm flip-flopping. I don't know if you are too, or whether. I feel like maybe I shouldn't be here then, because it would have been nice to kind of just sit back and witness your own thoughts and see what you think of them.
Well, it's an interesting one, because I'm not flip-flopping, to be honest. I mean, these are all, if I was going to use the kind of whiskey base, you know, grading, I don't really grade whiskies, but these are all like 89s to 92s, I would say, something around that sort of area. So there is,
wow, big praise.
Yeah, yep. It's narrow between the 3 of them. It's really narrow. The 14 always comes out ever so slightly ahead for me. But I think we were talking about the pop on the 12 and the 10 is unbelievable. But there's something about refill cask. I don't know why. Something about refill cask that I'm really coming round to in the last year and a half, maybe. It's giving me a kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's giving me a kind of more, you know, rounded experience that I never thought I would be going for as a whiskey drinker. I always thought I'd be chasing the big, bold, heavy flavors, and I think the 12-year-old is a really nice step up from, if you can call it a step up. It's like a little like this, a little mini step from the 10, which shows a little bit of extra age in, although they're sister casks, not the same cask, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. I would obviously happily drink any of these at any moment in time. The 10 really, really stands up still after 2 years.
It's gorgeous. It's still gorgeous, and it was something that was so well received by the community. They loved it. So the idea to give the exact same, the sister cask with just 2 years extra maturation on it, to see how the wood has just kind of influenced things a wee bit more over those couple of years. It's darker in color. It's richer. It's the pop and the fizz isn't it's there. It's absolutely still there, but it isn't the first foot. It isn't the first greeting that you get from the glass. Whereas the 10-year-old, that fizz, that effervescence, that pop was very much what hit you or hit me first. It's there on the 12, but things have been tamed a little bit. There's a richness and a roundness to things, a wee bit more ripe on the fruit, I would say, rather than bright orchard fruit. On the 14, what you say is very interesting to me, because you talked about a roundness and an integration there. There's no reason why a refill cask should do that any better than a first fill or an active cask or whatever. I think what we've got there is 14 years. We've got that. We're starting to get to right on Scotch whiskey's sweet spot, and at 14 years maturation in a refill cask, what we've got is this really lovely creaminess, but we've still got that Loch Lomond DNA absolutely intact. It's a creaminess that develops into that tart fruit thing on the finish. The 14 finishes on that really quite sharp grapefruit citric note, that acidic note on the finish. So that lovely switch from creamy to acidic is really, really Moorish. I suspect the community's favourite, if you were to hold a poll, would potentially be the 12.
A lot of people saying the 12. I am going to do that, though. pick a fave.
We just need to trust people that have opened and tried both. Will Ralphie be reviewing the Loch Lomond, says David? I don't think so, buddy.
I will be.
Oh, yeah.
I will be. I'll probably do them as a double threat. If you know what, if they can make it, because now I've only got half a bottle. Actually, it's now probably closer to a third of a bottle left now. I'm going to have to review these pretty quickly, I think, because they'll be in danger of disappearing.
Well, because this is anonymous, this poll, I've voted in this.
I mean, after 15 votes, the 14 is edging it, but it's doing the swing while everyone's sort of thinking. We've got 126 people watching. Obviously, I don't think probably everyone's bought that, but I think, yeah, we'll give it a minute. Rather, I can't help but stare at them, to be honest, but it's fascinating.
Really nice comments here. Really lovely comments here. I wish I could take them all. I forget that it's not my show. Did you catch Danny's dram?
No. Do you know what I meant to say that 14 minutes ago? Danny, thank you very much for the super chat. He said, "Cheers, Vin and Roy. Pop the cork both, and they're splendid. Really appreciate that." And also a bit much earlier, First Fill Whisky, another obviously fantastic channel. He gifted some memberships earlier as well. Actually, I was talking to him a little bit in my Discord about bottling because I think he's keen, but his problem is being in New Zealand. You know, he's got to do everything entirely remotely. You probably never get to try some whiskey, or he does it the other way around and does it so locally that none of us can get it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's really interesting whiskey scene happening in New Zealand, though. So there are opportunities for him there, hopefully. But yeah, cracking channel, and it would be amazing to see him bring out some fun stuff.
Yeah, wouldn't it just? I mean, I'd love to see it, but yeah, whatever he does, because New Zealand whiskey, Australian whiskey, so hard to get hold of over here right now. Or if you can, the prices are unreal.
I think the prices are expensive domestically for them as well for their own stuff. It's just the way it is. It's a very, very small scale industry, right? So it's not just the size of what they're producing. They don't have an infrastructure around either, like they do here yet. But these things come in time. Yeah, it'd be nice to see it. I don't know if Phil managed to get a hold of any of these. I know they were shipping to New Zealand as we worked out. A few of the squad managed to get things down in New Zealand. So there's definitely liquid down there. So you might manage, if you didn't get a bottle, to get a sample or so.
Hopefully so, yeah.
And Jason Whiskey Wise is in as well.
He is.
There's a blast from the past, right?
Yeah, and he's doing great stuff, right? Sadly, not on his channel much anymore, but
no, he's working with Sukhinder.
Michael Henry's voted as well. He says he's not long been in. I dread to think which one he would vote for, right?
I know, I instinctively know which one. I think, well, I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I have a strong gut feel on what he would vote for. But we're not telling tales out of school there, because we have to remember that the story that I told you is that our two favourites flipped.
Yep. And
we bottled my favourite. Well, the one that was my second favourite was this as a 12-year-old, but it's now a 14-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my second favourite. So yeah, it's
this being a 14-year-old, of course.
Yeah, I have to say, I think it's better. It might not be better to someone like Michael, because he loves spirit forward. He loves distillate driven product, spirit. But for the community to have an extra 2 years of maturation, I think, for especially in a refill cask, is going to make it potentially much more appealing. I don't know. Don't want to put words in Michael's mouth. I think probably shouldn't say that, but I feel like that's probably what he would have voted for. That said, I adore this wee 12-year-old.
Is that which one you're on? The 12 now, is it?
No, I've got all three of them, and I'm sipping backwards and forwards.
Yeah, me.
you can quickly saturate your palate doing silly things like that, but it's fun to sip backwards and forwards. To me, the 10-year-old tonight just tastes so fresh and bright.
Yes.
You know, that there's a richness that comes through from the 12. a deeper, sweeter, riper fruit, and then that lovely kind of. When you said integrated, did you say integrated or?
Sounds like a big word for me. I might have said something similar.
About the 14-year-old, you said that it's...
it's kind of like a well-rounded, what I've
rounded,
said,
yes,
yeah.
yes. It is. It's just more, it's like that sweet spot. For me, 16 years is Scotch whiskey's sweet spot, right? You know, just seems to be the perfect spot, and 14's getting pretty close to that. So...
Yeah, I mean, the thing that startles me about all of these, I mean, I did a quick calculation today. So far, obviously, with my bottles included, I've got a total ABV of 346% on the table today. So,
which, luckily enough, that's not how it works.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But your ones at 54.9, 53.1, 58.2, to my palate, none of them are blowing me out at all.
They're all so approachable at those strengths. And what was really fun is that, you know, the 10 was at 54.9, which was already quite a low ABV potentially for a 10-year-old. But now that the sister cask is at 12 years old, it's dropped all the way down to 53.1, isn't it?
Yep.
And obviously that 14-year-old in that refill, I think it was a Hoggy. Is it a Hoggy? Not sure.
Yeah, Hoggy,
going from memory now, I feel like it says a Hoggy. I think it says on it, doesn't it?
Refill Hoggy, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, refill American Oak Hogshead. So, with that 53.1%, the 12-year-old, you've got this. It's not been reduced using water. There's no dilution there. That's just natural maturation. So you've got this nice concentration of flavors and things as the ABV drops, and I think that comes across. Even the one that the 14-year-old that's still up at 58.3, is it 50? I should know all this. 58.2.
58.2, yeah.
It's still super, super gentle. Of course, I don't know how excited we would be to pour these for people just coming into whiskey. We would be very careful who we were pouring them for at cask strength. But for us, to our palates, who are used to sipping and enjoying cask strength whiskies, I think they come across wonderfully, wonderfully well. I hope Michael Henry's got some. Hope he's got some of his own liquid.
Yeah, I mean, there was a question earlier. I forget exactly who it was. It might have been Hells or similar, saying basically how much of this do we keep for ourselves? I mean, so far on all of mine, because so far all of mine have been numbered specifically. So I've had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5 all the way through. I've requested a bit of artistic license, but I've requested number 1 of all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So they're mine. I have them. Mainly because I didn't want there to be some kind of weird scrab for that on like auction or whatever. I didn't want to see that on there. But also because I feel like
you just want it for yourself.
I just want it. Yeah. And then I had another one to open of each of them. So yeah, like I'm getting low now. Because I mean my Dalmore's halfway through, and my Aberfeldy's nearly dead, and my McMira is halfway through as well. But that's it. Once they're gone, I have no more of this, apart from my number 1s, which, like I said earlier, I doubt I will open those. Because what I hope to do, I mean, obviously I'm getting well ahead of myself now, but my hope is that one day, way, 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 way down the line, when I've got 10, 15 bottlings out, I'll be able to do some kind of either like a charity auction for the lot, or do like one big charity tasting where I just pop them all and people buy tickets and they come do a tasting or something like that. That's my long-term aim. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, but I won't open them for me. It'll be for...
And you never know. It's just nice to have something there.
Yeah.
So I've got bottles on hand, but I've still got... There's a chap in Germany called Kevin, who I'm still holding a bottle for, of my original 10-year-old from 2 years ago, if he doesn't step forward and claim it soon. So Kevin, that's your bottles here if you ever tune in. I have a couple of those original 10 years old from a couple of years ago. One of them's for Shayla. You remember, because she did the artwork for the back of the bottle.
Absolutely.
So, and obviously the other ones for me. what to do with that, how long to keep a hold of it, what to save it for. It will come good in time. It'll make itself known. Whatever's going to happen with that, it'll just make it. And it just might be Tuesday, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It just might be that. These newer ones that just came out, I bought extra. And I think the prices on these were fantastic. I stand by the prices. I think there's no shame with the prices on these at all. But a 69 pounds bottle, no, sorry, let's say 75 pounds. So it's 145 pounds a pair. So if I was to be allowed to buy as much as I want, that's great. But then you add it up and you think, okay, I can't afford it actually. So I did buy a couple extra for myself, with a plan for almost every single one. So almost every single one that I've bought is spoken for now. So I think we do have the good way to answer it is that we do have the ability to buy more, but we're starving people of getting them. Anyone that we take means somebody else can't. And it costs. We don't get the bottles for free. We still have to pay. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like with all my releases so far, basically any profit that I made off of them was spent on me buying the bottles for myself. So
that's exactly true. Exactly true.
Yeah.
So, but we're not doing this. Isn't a business model.
No, it's a really bad one.
Nobody's going to make like lots and lots of money off of this, but it's still worthwhile doing. It's a fun thing to do.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, so I mean, well, Ben's asked two questions. One is that a Schöffenhofer? Schöffenhofer, yes, it is.
Nice.
That is a habit I picked up in Glasgow Whisky Festival last year when someone put one in my hand, and I was just like, grapefruit beer, get that away from me, and I drank it, and now I buy it every week because it's at 2.5%. It's basically water. It's hydration.
Brilliant, good stuff.
The other question he said is, do we think that numbering bottles is a good idea? It has bonuses and negatives for sure. One is increasing the cost because you've then got to basically every label is bespoke, or in my case with my first two releases, they're handwritten, which somebody had to be paid to do that. But then it gives a kind of like there's a little bit more of a premium edge to it because you get fun numbers. Sometimes you can get an opportunity to request numbers or whatever. Versus, I think, because on yours it says one of, which then you're part of a community, and it brings the cost down.
Nobody's got a low number, nobody's got a high number.
Exactly.
Like you say, it's a waxing way, and it's like, and I like what. So I went to. It's quite funny. There's lots of social posts about Loch Lomond where people think that they've got bottle one, and that's really difficult to kind of go up and burst their bubble, right? Sometimes it's nice to just leave them, and But all the Loch Lomonds in 2022 and this year were all bottled as one of the total count. Ardnamurchan were individually numbered, like yours have been, Finn. And on the day that those were delivered to the warehouse, I travelled through to the warehouse in Edinburgh to pick up a bottle of each for all the things that you need a bottle of each for when you're launching a bottle. And I walked into the warehouse thinking, oh, since I'm here, I can grab bottle one of each. I can grab bottle number one. And then I realised it's Ardnamurchan, they're all wrapped in tissue. And immediately, there's no way I'm asking anyone for bottle number one. I'm just one of each. Dealer's choice. I'll take whatever comes to hand, and that's how that played out.
No, that's fair. I think if you're going to make a request like that, like when I did it, McMira was the hardest one because obviously that came over on a crate of 58. So somebody had to go through and find that for me. But I made that request very early, so they could put it at the top of the boxes or whatever for me. But I get that entirely. Sometimes it's not feasible. I'm not sure what I'll do with my next one, and I'm not even sure what my next one will be because if in theory it'll be that Welsh one, but if that's not ready next year at 3 years old when I try it, I'll keep it in a barrel for longer. It's not costing me anything to leave it there.
Dead excited for it. I mean, in the Welsh wind, they're tiny, right?
I mean, so small.
Yeah.
But I'd say the reason why I went for them, actually, the reason why I went for the visit in the first place is because they will be just the first commercially available ice still whiskey in the UK.
Wow.
And I'm very interested that as an engineer, I'm very interested in ice still versus the traditional pot still, and what it will be like in 3 years. And I tried it at 18 months and was very impressed by it. But like I said earlier, it's weird. You know, it's nothing like any of these whiskies we've got on the table today. It's nothing like your Loch Lomond's.
Well, you're in Coventry, right?
Yeah.
So you're handy for Wales.
Yep.
You're also handy for Bristol.
Yeah, 2.5 hours ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, 2.5 hours to Bristol, really? Nah.
Well, yeah. Well, the M5 is a bitter mistress.
Okay. Okay. Back in the day, I was doing Coventry to Bristol in 90 minutes, I think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You're fairly close to circumstance.
Yeah, I need to go there, you know, because I've not actually been at all, which is a crime. It's a crime.
Everything I've touched so far, even the official bottlings and things, are really inexpensive. But the Thompson Brothers one, the 57.1% Thompson Brothers one, a 3-year-old, just really, really, really shocked me, the amount of flavour and drinkability that they can put into a whiskey at that age. So in the Welsh Wind, I would imagine have capabilities similar at the scale that they're at, maybe, I don't know. Super, super curious to see what you come up with there. That's going to be fun to see in the future. Helen is asking a really good question, though, about us doing, she's talking about blended dram, like McLean's Nose. So that's a blended whiskey, which is grain and malt. Maybe a blended malt, something like that, just putting their own brand on it. But I'd be more keen to kind of focus on small batch, just keeping it single malt maybe, but mixing casks. You know, sometimes it's just nice to, if you've got maybe potentially more people than a cask can yield that are after a bottle, then okay, let's go small batch. It doesn't need to be single cask. The problem with it, Helen, is that what you're already asking lots and lots of favors from retailers and from bottlers, from producers, from distillers, everything. As soon as you ask to step into a position of actually making and curating and blending a product, you're asking for even more favors, right?
Yep.
However, it's very much in my mind, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's the thing. There's so many things we could do, right? But like you said, it's every single weird thing that we do introduces another layer of complexity to the issue, and ultimately we have to try and pick stuff that we think people are going to want as well.
And we also need to be mindful that there's so many whiskies out there. Everybody's buying it, and we're all loving all of this whiskey. We don't want to be part of the saturation problem either. Yeah. It needs to be when the time's right and there's an appetite for it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's and also doing. I mean, like I said right at the start of the show, if you've got money, you could put out like an outturn. Look at SNWS, for instance, obviously a massive indie bottler, putting out like 10, 15 bottles a month. We could do that if I had millions of pounds. I could do that. But you guys wouldn't be buying that, guys watching. So 1 a year, 2 a year tops, maybe in the future. It could be a thing. But the last thing you'd want to do is just be putting out bottle after bottle after bottle after bottle after bottle, because eventually people will just get nose blind to it. It'd be too challenging.
Yeah, and it's not. I think you have to work out what you're about and what your focus is and stick to it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not what we do is what we do. This is my career now. We're a wee bit different, you and I now. You've still got a real job, and everything that you do for the community and things is you're finding in your spare time to do it. Vin, it's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So all of these things are just little kind of really fun distractions and bonuses and extra layers on top of what the core thing is that we do. Ben is asking if I'll ever do a Glasgow 1770 collaboration.
I would love to.
Nice. It'd be gorgeous to do something in my back garden, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Glasgow. I mean, you can see this shoulder here. They've got their own cube for me because I've got more of theirs than anyone else's. I absolutely love Glasgow, and it's
from nowhere.
I mean,
in the last 18 months, 2 years, right?
Like I always joke because I speak to a guy called Seb and of course Libby, who are like the front of house people. But this guy, Mike Hayward, who I've never met, who is picking these whiskies, who is this magician, who decided to put these in bottles when they were nobodies. It's mental what they're producing there. Everything, even the ones I don't like that much, like the Tokai cask, I don't vibe with that too much, but it's still a high 80s score for me.
But here's the thing, Vin. When they're charging £59 for single cask and small batch cask strength whiskey, even if there's something that sits bang average with you, you're still a signed up fan.
Yep.
There's something happening there, and I don't think it's down to usually when these Renaissance things happen, or these kind of things when they click into place, there's a single individual, there's some kind of coach, leader, inspired kind of person that's leading things, and that might be happening at Glasgow. Every time I speak to the people from Glasgow, there's a sense that it's all of them. They're all just working out that we need to do. Look at what, obviously, we keep talking about the fantastic master stroke, moving away from 50 CL to 70 CL, and keeping the prices the same. Amazing. And then you look at the original, their most available release is the original alongside the triple distilled and the peated. But that original has now dropped in price. They've dropped the price from £49 to £45.
Yeah.
So they're kind of also a company that you feel like are actually listening and paying attention, and they care about that stuff, and they want to build a pedigree and a reputation. Yeah, from nowhere in the last couple of years. It helps that the liquid's maturing at the same time. That helps a lot. But it's been amazing to see.
Thank you, Alan, for that super chat. He says a great topic. Thanks for being open about your experiences. Always, we've talked about this a lot recently with the conversations about sort of freebies from industry. That is the one promise. There's two promises I can always give about No Nonsense Whiskey. One, I will always be reviewing bottles while bottles exist to review, and the other one is that I will always be transparent about everything. I'm not going to talk about pounds necessarily, but I'm always open to a discussion about how I did something or who I worked with or whatever. And if any company ever talks to me and says, "We'd like you to keep this a secret, please," I do not work with those people. So,
yeah. Well, you and I have been pals now for what, 7 years?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've just gone. My 8th birthday is this month, so it must be just nearly 8 years. Yeah.
So we don't agree on everything, buddy. We do not agree on everything. Is it a condition of friendship? No. And that's the thing. All we can do is say this is how we do this thing, and people can make of it what they want and what they will. Just transparency, and you go a bit further, buddy. You do consistency. You've been solid and consistent for nearly 8 years. 8 years, my goodness.
Yeah,
let's raise a wee glass to Vin. 8 years. Oh, and while I'm raising a glass to celebrate 8 years, I almost forgot. Can I raise a wee glass to say happy birthday? Many happy returns.
Thank you, mate.
A little bird told me it was your birthday, fella. It was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
That's okay. I hope I sent you a message yesterday, did I?
You did, yeah.
But I never knew for sure I was going to be able to raise a glass to say many happy returns live. Cheers, buddy. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'll have a drink to that. I'll admit. I'm 39 now. And I'm having a little bit of a crisis about being close to 40. I know that it'll be fine. I know that everything's going to be fine, but that's a big scary number for me. And I'd want to get it over and done with, basically. Get 40, get past it, move on. But I am having a bit of a mini crisis about it.
39 going
Yeah,
on
man.
40.
39.
I can't even remember what that was like.
But see, that's what I kind of want to get to now. I want to get to. Yeah. A lot of people saying, yeah, I've been through that 40 thing. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's where we are. No, while we're sort of, I think we're coming to a sort of natural close on this. I do have a quiz for anyone who's still sticking around.
I've just clicked buy and send. Quiz. I wouldn't have sent the super chat if I could say happy birthday. If you do have a quiz, and I happen to know because of the interface that we have where that quiz is from.
Oh, amazing! Thank you, Roy, for that super chat. That's incredible. Yes, I do have a quiz, and I don't know. Some people might remember this. Some people that have been around for a long time, they'll remember back in the day when I hosted my first vPub, I took a punt on making my own quiz, and it was probably the highest percentage of 10 out of 10s that went, because another super chat as well from Vlad. Thank you very much for that, mate. I really appreciate that. He's a local chap to me, Birmingham. I've never pretended to be an expert in whiskey. My knowledge is like a sieve, so I am like a researched expert for my video review, and then about 2 days later, all that knowledge is gone because I've stored it on YouTube now. So
what you like and what you taste never leaves you.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to your quizzes, I do not do well. So anyway, long story long, I've enlisted the services of one arsehat Menno, who has made me a quiz. So
here's a wee dram to Lord Asshat out in Belgium.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend. He does it all with no questions whatsoever. In fact, he thanked me for the opportunity to do something interesting for it. So yeah. But whether you guys will find it good or not, I don't know, because what we've done. Should we go straight into it?
Yeah, well, we could have a bit of fun, and okay, I don't know if you run the same rules as I do. You've obviously got the template and things that Menno's built on the vPub template, but pass mark is usually 5.
Yep.
So we'll have that as the standard pass mark. But
I think that's fair.
I have never ever achieved a 10 out of 10 on a Menno quiz.
I think this one here, I mean, it's like I'm obviously I've looked at the questions because I needed to go through it just to make sure. I think he's been more than fair. However, because of the nature of the show today, he has gone full on indie questions. So yeah,
so it's hard. It's a hard quiz.
So it's hard. Yeah. So that your knowledge of distilleries will not help. Well,
okay.
Maybe it will.
So let's go me against the chat then.
Yeah.
So pass mark is 5, but if you want to celebrate and run rings around your dining room table or your coffee table or wherever you find yourself tonight, you can play against me.
Absolutely.
Because I can guarantee I'm going to fail. I'll do the best I can.
Before we start, then, so a quick one is a big thank you to Whisky with Molly, Ben, and Jeff for your super chats as well, mate. I really appreciate those guys. That's it all helps. It all helps. Okay, right. Let me double check if I can get this on. Oh, look at that, seamless. Yeah,
it's working.
It's working.
Yep.
It's working. I mean, like I joked about this before, but I'm live streaming again in a couple of weeks as part of the WhiskyTube roundtable, and I probably should have bought StreamYard for this month because it would have saved me a lot of hassle. But I'd already put the link out for this before I'd done that, so I'm stuck with it. But yeah,
who's the host for the one coming up?
Me. I'm doing it. Yeah, because
when is that?
It's on the 27th of August. I hijacked it because it's the 8th episode and it's my 8th anniversary and we're covering 8-year-old whiskies. Yes.
What's your lucky number?
I don't really have one. If I was
the only answer is 8.
Yeah, it's going. I think if I'm being obtuse, I would normally say 13 just to be like that guy. But yeah.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So good stuff. I hijacked it this time.
Is there a topic yet for it?
No, really just 8-year-old stuff. So hopefully we're encouraging people to dig around and get some 8-year-old whiskies. But I'm probably going to come out with something a little bit more robust as a talking point in the next 2 weeks. But
I like the idea of an 8-year-old topic. That's quite nice. Good.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same. Last year I did a 7-year-old one, and I thought that would be a bit weird doing it again. But actually, whiskey gets bottled all over the place, so it's not the same whiskey as last year at all. I just got another super chat from Derek as well. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that.
Derek, good to see you, fella.
Oh, and another one from I want to say Toby Anderson. Might be pronouncing that wrong. Thank you very much. Right, okay. I don't want to waste too much time, so let's get into the quiz.
Sweden.
Yep, that's the one. Let's get on with the quiz then. So we've got the normal format. We've got banana skins. We've got arse hats. We've got 10 questions. As Roy said, pass mark 5 out of 10. I'll do the normal thing of leaving the question up so you can put your comments in the chat, and then I'll call it and we'll move on, and you can keep track of your own scores. How about that?
You're only playing against yourself.
You're only playing against yourself. and Roy tonight. Yeah, you're not playing against me.
I don't need the letters to hold up tonight because it's just me. I can just tell you. So you ask me when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. What you might want to do, Roy, is once you've decided what your thing is going to be, is hold off for a second.
Yeah,
you say it out loud, because you don't want to lead the chat, I guess.
Of course, always. I'll wait for your prompt, buddy.
Cool. Okay, question 1 then. Back in 2020, a strapping young lad from Coventry released his first 2 indie bottlings, keeping eagle-eyed for earlier. Which of these distilleries was not one of the first no-nonsense whiskey releases? So which one of these have I not released? A, Dalmore, B, Aberfeldy, or C, Linkwood? I'm not entirely sure if Menno realised I was going to be talking about my bottles on there, but a nice easy one to start with, maybe. And Ben's having a go at me being a strapping lad. These are all Menno's words. This is another reason why I get Menno to do the quiz, because I take no accountability whatsoever for the content of the quiz. If it's wrong, it's his fault.
I'm missing his dulcet tones.
He wanted to be here, but he often, as you know, he often works late, so he couldn't host it again. But hopefully he'll be online to catch it soon enough, so everyone can give him grief for whatever reason. I think we could probably call that one. What did you get, buddy?
Obviously, your Dalmore was a 9-year-old, your Aberfeldy was a 6-year-old, and Linkwood didn't exist yet.
Absolutely. Oh, do you know what? I would absolutely love to do a Linkwood as well. Linkwood is one of my favourite distilleries, but I can't imagine Diageo would be picking up the phone to me anytime soon. I would have to do it in.
Well, you never know. There's enough of it out there.
True.
I mean, White Mackay didn't contact you for your Linkwood. Yours didn't contact you for your Aberfeldy. So
true.
Sorry for your Dalmore. Yeah.
A man of wise words, though, and I think everybody so far is a 1-for-1, which is good. I like that.
I'll take it.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Morrison and Mackay, or simply Morrison, release indie bottled whiskies under which brand? Is it Kenmore, Mactala, or Old Perth? Morrison released.
Mano.
Yeah, you happy with that or not happy with that?
He's even putting accents on the Carnmore.
I know, he's done a good job, hasn't he?
Yeah.
They release indie bottle whiskies under which brand? A, Canmore. Oh, actually, now we've got some differences. Here we go. We'll lose some people now. B, Mactala, and C, Old Perth. Incidentally, I don't think I've had any of those yet in my 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that bad?
Well, I have tried quite a few Mactalas, not actually bought any. That sounds terrible, but they've all been pretty good to me. Drinkable whiskies. Old Perth is fantastic value blended malt. Carnmore, I've had some absolutely stonewall, spectacular Carnmores over the years. Great to see.
Okay. All right, go on then. What did you get for that one?
All three, buddy. All three.
The answer is all three. Now, on the word from Menno himself, basically, if you picked any of those, you get a point.
Nobody goes home on a donut. That's the idea.
That's the idea. Okay. But I think what that means is so far everyone's on 2 for 2 now. Which is, I think probably quite pleasant for Menno, really.
Now, are you going to share what you scored?
No. I'll say I got a pass. Put it that way.
Okay.
So yeah, badly as always, badly. But in fairness, though, I was 2 for 2 now.
Good. That's good enough.
Okay. Question 3 then. Following up on this, which new distillery is also owned by Morrison? Is it? This is testing my pronunciations now. You might be able to do this one for me, Roy. Is it A, Aberargi, B, Balindalloch, or C, Burnabenny? How was that for pronunciation?
Hey, we all understood what you said, so it's fine. Aberargi, Balindalloch,
yep,
Burnabenny.
Near enough.
Burnabenny isn't one word though, but like I say, it doesn't matter. It's not. Once they start releasing product and branding it, maybe they'll become more of an issue. But Aberargi, Balindalloch, Burnabenny.
Perfect. There you go. It's, I mean, it seems pretty crowd heavy again on this one. Is there DVDW? I'm not sure who that. Do I know who that is? It says, is there even a Burnabenny? Well, I haven't heard of them before, but actually I hadn't heard of any of these. I'm really bad at keeping up with new distilleries. Really bad.
DVDW is David.
Yeah.
David Owen, I think it is.
That's what I thought. He's got a new username for some reason.
I think he just I logged in under a wrong account tonight earlier as well. I did it, so we all do it right.
Go on then. I think everyone's had their chance. What are you going for, Roy?
Aberargi, big guy.
It is a Aberargi. I think actually, looking at the scores, we only lost one person there. Menno might have been a bit kind on this one, and I might have just been rubbish when I went through this.
We're only 3 in. Come on.
Yep. Indeed. Yeah.
Andrew Butler's here. He's going to lead the way for us all.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And, Rob Smith's winning now on 5 out of 3 he's got, so... Okay, question 4 then.
5 out of 3.
Yeah. Question 4. Which independent bottler won the 2023 Oswa Award for Best Blended Whiskey? This would be a shame if you got this one wrong, Roy. Is it A, Compass Box? Is it B, Thompson Brothers? Or C? I want to say Cadenheads, but I'm pretty sure you'd say Cardenheads, right?
Hey, no, I say both.
Yeah.
So the Campbelltown accent and pronunciation would make it Cadenheads.
Cadenheads, yeah.
But generally, Cadenheads. I mean, nobody's gonna throw a huff about that. Just go with your mood. If you want to say Cadenheads, if you want to say Cadenheads. Can we plug the Oswas?
Absolutely, we can plug the Oswas. Go for it.
I hope you're excited for the Oswas again this year. 4th year running. Finn, we're going to kick it off hopefully a week from tonight. We'll be letting everyone know what the dates are, how it's going to be mapped out this year.
Nice.
Ralphie and I are in negotiations in the back room right now about we've proposed slight tweaks and mods here and there. But of course, the big idea is to keep it much the same, the formula that everybody's come to know. So it all kicks off, and it's 4th year. It's incredible, 4 years.
I can't believe
it's all going to kick off from next week, yeah. And then the dates that everyone can get involved will come out too.
Well, what a way to kick off your return, though, right? You know, to go straight into a Oswald's annunciation.
The 3 to 4 months ahead are extreme. I really need to rest during summer.
Yeah, because I often get my my first email about that. Probably about September wise, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, which is
early
crazy.
September. Yeah, but listen, everyone has busy jobs and things. We all work hard, so it's no different. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think because one of the things that you ask us to do sometimes is to record a little kind of segment.
A wee vignette. Yeah.
Which I always sit there. I get the email. I think, oh, that'll be easy enough. I'll do that when I get home. And it's like 2 weeks later, still haven't even thought about it. And it's like, oh yeah, I really need to do that.
I'll bully you into doing it this year. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really bad for. I sit in this room one night a week, usually, sometimes two. Which is that's where my rest comes into it, because I rest the rest of the week. Okay, go on then. Give me your answer. What you got?
I think from memory, B, Thompson Brothers.
The answer is B, Thompson Brothers. And for anyone who doesn't remember it, it was the old
TBBSW.
BSW. Everyone's doing really well, Roy. I'm glad I didn't put a prize.
Listen, can I just tell everyone, since there's still 98 in tonight watching, listen, while you can buy this at 35 quid and sometimes even less than that, stock up. If there is a whiskey out there that you are going to miss at some point in your life, it is this whiskey. Get it, keep it, gift it. It is just fabulous stuff. I took it to a barbecue before I went away on holiday. I took my 2 Loch Lomonds over there as well. I'm not going to tell you which one get absolutely hammered and which one only got mildly hammered. But the Thompson Brothers 6-year-old TBBSW got rinsed. People loved it.
Do you know what? I've never owned a bottle of this.
Get it.
You're making me look on Master and Malt right now, which is really bad.
Well, I got an offer. Damn it, I need to remember who it was. Was it? I don't know if it was Tindrum or Whiskey Exchange or something. Somebody was doing it at 28 quid. £28 for just gorgeous liquid.
It's sold out on Master of Malt. Oh well, never mind.
Get it.
I'll find it. Find it.
Keep it. Stash it.
Carl saying he wants to go to that barbecue. Absolutely. Right. Next question then. Which independent bottler is involved? And I'm assuming he means by whatever this is. This is something I've never heard of. Single malt Dal Riata, Scotch whiskey for those that can't see, but it's a logo, and you're to tell me the independent bottler that's involved in the release of that. Is it A, James Eddy, B, Meadowside Blending, or C, North Star?
So James Eddy, Edinburgh bottler.
Eddy.
I think they're based in Edinburgh. I'm certain they're based in Edinburgh. Meadowside Blending, I don't have any intelligence on that. North Star, Ian Croucher and co. Dalriata is a new Campbelltown distillery, Vin. I think they've got the go-ahead now. I'm not sure which state they're at. Super exciting news, but it's a couple of years ago now. All of these things take much longer than you imagine. There's some clues in that logo there that'll help people. But it's one of the Campbelltown distilleries, along with Witchburn, obviously Machrihanish. I think we worked out that there's going to be, with the micro distillery that Springbank are building too, before in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, depending on how long these things take, there will be 7 Campbelltown distilleries, where once upon a time there were none.
Indeed. Yeah, that's good.
Incredible.
There were a lot down there at one point, though, right? There was.
Yeah, the stories are different, but some people suggest that there were more than 30 active at one point.
Yeah.
Other places a wee bit less than that, but yeah, it was the whiskey capital at one point in time. Not just for shipping and distributing whiskey, but making it. Absolutely.
Okay, I think most people agree. Go on then. Give us your answer, Roy. What you got?
The independent bottler involved in Dalriata is North Star.
It is North Star. 5 out of 5 for you.
Indeedy.
5 out of 5 for a lot of people, actually. I think everybody so far. Anybody not got 5 out of 5? Be honest. Oh, Lachlan joined a bit late, so he's 3 out of 3 so far. But, you can go back and you can add that up later if you want to watch the replay.
Or just take it. They were easy. Take it.
Take it. Yeah, the first two were easy, to be fair. Okay, question 6 then. Another involved party and author of a great book on independent bottlers is David Stirk. Which now gone independent bottling company did he once own and run? So, which indie bottling company did David Stirk once own and run? Is it A, Magnificent Malts Company, B, Creative Whiskey Company, or C, Casketeers? I've got no shame in saying that I have no idea. So I did not know this, but...
Well, you would spend an hour in David Stirk's company and you would be so much more enlightened than you were an hour before. Incredible experience in the man. He worked at Whisky Magazine. He worked at Cadenheads, Springbank, and all. Well, he worked for Janie Mitchell, let's say. Worked all around Scotch. He built his own, as this question is around, his own business around whiskey. Sold that on. Started as a retailer. Wrote books. The Malts of Campbelltown, Independent Scotch. There's another book as well. I can't remember what it is right now. You'll shoot me. He's got another book in the works called Pioneering Spirits, Distilleries of the 21st Century. If you were to give an example of a industry whiskey geek, it would be hard to look past David Stirk, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying Menno must be sick. And Willie saying here goes for a kicking on the back half. Maybe. We'll see. Obviously, no matter what happens, you've still got a 1 in 3.
Yep. For me, they've been softballs so far, Menno. You've dropped. I bet you would have changed these questions if you knew I was going to be here, right?
Do you know what? Maybe. I didn't tell him, to be fair. We only kind of figured this out, yesterday, maybe? Yep. But yeah. Yep. It's okay. Go on then. What have you got, Roy?
Creative Whiskey Company.
It is B, Creative Whiskey Company. I think from looking at the chat, most people got that. There was a couple of people that dropped it. Not many, though. Not many. People doing really well. This is what would have happened if I was doing it.
We need to just come to terms with the fact, Vin, that our communities are more informed than we are.
100%. This is why I'm much happier delivering the quiz than I am being on the other side of it, because I don't know the answers to so much of this, because I haven't got
That's what's good about what you do, Vin. When you don't know, you just say, "Oh, I don't know."
I don't know.
And it's so relatable, right? If people hear that you don't know, it's related. They don't feel it's just.
Yeah, it's crazy because obviously day job is so unbelievably wildly different to whiskey that I've got to cram it full of all that to maintain a good cadence at work as well, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I think we're doing well. Let's move on to question 7, which is which of these brands of indie whiskies is not owned by Ian McLeod? Ian McLeod. I never.
McLeod, yeah.
McLeod, yeah. Is it A, the Six Isles? Is it B, As We Get It? Or is it C, the Malt Man?
Oh.
I definitely struggle with that one.
Well, it's harder. It's definitely a harder question. So he's definitely going to make us work for it on the way in.
Frank's already put a question mark on the end of his answer. And 3 different answers in the first 3 answers.
Josh Kennedy and Ben Kovacs is saying B.
Yeah.
Read the question. Which of these brands of indie whiskies is not owned by Ian McLeod?
Yep. Ebhead bringing the peach and the hat into full view. Absolutely. This isn't even the arse hat question, I don't think.
It's not an arse hat. It's a very straight question.
Yeah. I'm going to let everyone catch up with it a little bit. I think most people have answered. Yeah, we've got B's, we've got C's.
It's the first one that's breaking the crowd then.
Indeed. And a lot of people being honest about guessing as well, which is awesome. I like that. Because that's what I had to do on this one. I'm aware of 2 of these brands. And one of them I wasn't aware of at all. So, okay. Go on then, Roy. Show us what you got.
I think it's the Maltman, C.
The answer is C, the Maltman.
But I can't remember who does own the Maltman.
No, nor I.
It just might be, maybe, I don't know if it's their own thing. Not sure.
No, I'm not sure, to be honest. Usually for me to have any knowledge about a distillery or whatever, I have to have at least covered them on the channel because that's the only way I'm going to have sat and researched them. Okay.
This is when our Menno's going to start shooting bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Okay. Question number 8 then. What do Weems, Douglas Lang, and Mossburn have in common? Banana skin. Is it A, that they all have their own distillery in the lowlands? B, all their distilleries were founded in the same year? Or C, they all have their own distillery, but that is as far as the commonalities are concerned?
This is not banana skin. This is an ass hat. Because not only do you need to know what distilleries they own, but you need to know potentially when they were founded, where they are. This is the kind of this is ass hattery disguised as a banana skin.
I'll read it again because there's a lot of words there.
Yeah.
What do Weems, Douglas Lang, and Mossburn have in common? I get a lot of stick for saying Douglas Lang, by the way, because I know up there you'd say Douglas Lane, but
it's fine.
Yeah, again.
Listen, you pronounced Weems right. You win. You're a winner.
Weems is. I think, to be fair, that sounds logical to me. But anyway, A, they all have their own distillery in the lowlands. B, they all their distilleries were founded in the same year. And C, they all have their own distillery, but that is it as far as the commonalities are concerned. Yeah, that's definitely upsetting people. Whims, indeed.
Wimmis.
Yeah. Do you know what I think with that is? Because before I started my channel, I had been to probably 3 distilleries total, and one of those was Kingsbarns.
Oh, before you started the channel, yeah?
Before I started the channel, yeah, because I used to go to St Andrews a lot, as you well know. And when they opened that a stone's throw from St Andrews, I had to go. I was one of the... I mean, they'd barely filled a few casks by the time I went there for the first time. And all they had for sale was, of course, Weems stock. So...
Wow.
I did know the answer to this one. Okay, I think everyone's had a little go. What have you said, Roy?
Well, A, they all have their own distillery in the lowlands. Kingsbarns is in the lowlands. Weems, you've said that already.
Mm-hmm.
Strathearn is owned by Douglas Lang, which is Southern Highlands. Mossburn is Torravik, which is Skye Highlands. So it's not that. All their distilleries were founded in the same year. Well, you've suggested beyond 8 years ago for Kingsbarns. I'll say the same for Strathearn, but Torravik is much newer. So it must be by process elimination C. No commonalities. Menno, you slippery asshat.
Literally, Menno's just logged in as well, so he says yes, made it in time just for his.
I made it in time for me to call him out as an asshat.
Yeah.
Don't put an asshat and put a banana skin on it and give us hope.
Yeah, he'll be proud of himself there, because that's the first one that's really caused people any grief.
Yeah.
Majorly. There's a few people that I think have dropped a couple, but that's it. It's good. Alan's given himself a 7.5 out of 8 because he changed his mind. I'm not sure if we'll allow that or not, but
take it, Alan.
Take it.
You're in control of your own scores.
There are no prizes. Apart from, your own kudos or whatever,
Yeah.
Pride.
Your own conscience.
Mm-hmm.
You're just playing against yourself.
Okay. Question 9 then. Who is Maurice Doyle? Banana skin. Is it A, the new CEO at Compass Box? Is it B, the master blender at the Master of Malts Atom Brands and that boutique whiskey company? Or C, the warehouse manager at Berry Brothers and Rudd? I mean, I'm not going to lie, I had no idea.
I've written my answer down, Menno. I mean, I have to remember every time I take a Menno quiz that I love Menno.
Yeah.
I have to keep that forefront in my mind every time. And also, I dish these quizzes out every week, so I have to take my own medicine, don't
I? Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's always a tough one. I think there's only been a few occasions when I've been on screen on your vPub when the quiz has been called. I get wrapped up in the live stream, and it's like, oh, who's staying? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll stay. Usually I'm in the chat, and it's never good for me. It's never good for me.
There's a banana skin here as well.
There is. I will read it again. Who is Maurice Doyle? A, the new CEO at Compass Box. B, the master blender for Master of Malts Atom Brands and that boutique whiskey company. And C, the warehouse manager at Berry Brothers and Rudd. Yeah, I think everyone's had a chance. What are you saying, Roy?
Well, I'm guessing here because I haven't read, or let's say if I have read or understood this, I've let it drop. I'm going to go with A, the new CEO at Compass Box.
The answer is the new CEO at Compass Box. That puts you 9 for 9, though, right?
Yeah, I need the toilet now, so
yeah,
I'll come back after the 10th if that's okay.
I think everyone's doing really well. I mean, Kyle's got 7 out of 9. Helen and Andy have got 9 out of 9. Ben's on 9 out of 9. Frank's on 8 out of 9. Greg's on 9 out of 9. Yeah, so everyone's really doing well. Really doing well.
Hell's Wid, she's asking for a gentle asshat. Such a thing, as far as I'm aware, has never existed, Helen.
Well, you might get lucky. You might get lucky. Maybe there isn't even an asshat question. Obviously, there is.
Mm-hmm.
Here it comes. This is question 10, obviously. One of the most popular distilleries amongst indie bottlers was Caol Ila, with, according to Whiskey Base, Signatory as the absolute king. How many Caol Ilas have been bottled by Signatory?
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, the question, how many Caol Ilas have been bottled by Signatory? Is it A, roughly as much as Caol Ilas released by Cardenheads and Gordon and MacPhail combined? Is it B, roughly as many as there have been Dramface reviews so far? That would be at time of writing, I should imagine, just a couple of days ago. And C, roughly as much as there have been no-nonsense whiskey videos.
Wow. I mean, this isn't even an asshat that you've got a chance at by having some knowledge, answering the question, and then answering for each of what the potential answers are. This is pure dartboard. Just random guessery, isn't it?
100%. There's, I mean, obviously I know exactly how many videos I've put out, but that still doesn't help me if I don't know how many Kalilas have been bottled by Signatory.
I know it sounds like it's complaining, but I can't complain about the concept I invented. This is exactly why it's an ass hat. In order to get 10 out of 10 on a quiz at the end, you have to be knowledgeable, you have to be fortunate, you have to lean on the crowd, you have to do all of it, you have to make it all come together. This is relying on luck.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we've had a good spread as well. A lot of people are going with C because obviously I'm hosting. Some people going A. Has anybody said B? Yeah, Tyson said B. Kyle has said B. Big spread. Menno said, "Imagine, if you will, the smile on my face right now."
Imagine, if you will, me wiping it off.
Incredible.
Oh, buddy, thank you for putting in the good work, the hard effort.
100%. These are so difficult to write because
if I'd got one of them wrong, I would have been relaxed and happy just to let it go.
Yeah.
But because there's a potential for a 10 out of 10 here, I am actually properly sweating it. So you try and apply some sanity or rationale to that which will not be rationalized, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. Okay. Go on then. Tell us what you've got then, Roy.
Buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Kalila is released by Cadenheads and Gordon McPhail combined. I'm going to suggest that I just don't know where to go with that one. Dramface reviews so far, we're approaching 1,000 reviews in just over 2 years. No Nonsense Whiskey videos, I'm going to guess you're somewhere in the orbit of 500. Pure guess.
So he's been sneaky here because he said No Nonsense Whiskey videos, of which I've gone over 850 now, including live streams and whiskey and whiskey outs and reviews.
Wow. Okay.
So actual reviews, I've just done 500, but yeah.
I'm still going to stick with it. Roughly as much as there have been No Nonsense Whiskey videos.
Oh, you've gone C. Okay.
C.
Now, you guys might be happy to see that he's not been a total ass hat, because 2 of them are correct. There have been 786 signatory Kalilas, 775 Gordon McPhail's Cadenheads. As you said, close to 1,000 now, so that's the incorrect answer, B. And I've had just over 800 videos.
Wow.
So yeah, he's you could argue it's closer to A than B, but he's given us A to C, but he's given us both A and C.
Well, so, normally he said roughly as much on every single answer, so nailed.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this is a 10 out of 10. My first ever 10 out of 10. Something to celebrate.
Ever?
My first ever 10 out of 10. Yeah, ever, because it's only on a Menno quiz that I'm aware of. Vinified. And I've only got a wee sip of my 14-year-old left, but I'm going to sip it, and this is going to be the sweetest, loveliest sip of the 14-year-old I'll ever have, celebrating a 10 out of 10. Fantastic.
Congratulations to you. And let's have a go through to see who else got 10s. And again, do you know what? I thought about putting a prize up, and I'm glad I didn't now, because there's been a lot of prizes.
I wish I could buy Menno a super chat.
Yeah, we probably should, right? Where's Roy? Got a 10 out of 10. Ben, it's going to be his birthday in 4 minutes, and he's got a 10 out of 10. So happy birthday to him.
Oh, I'm pouring another dram then. Okay.
Yeah. Andrew Butler, of course, 10 out of 10. Sugar Kitty, 10 out of 10. Some surprise that, yeah, Hells and Andy, they've got 10 out of 10, of course. Amazing. Greg's got 10 out of 10. Willie got 10 out of 10, yes. Who else? Did I miss everyone else?
Willie Dollier, superb.
Yeah, I think everyone's happy with that. You know, and to be fair, I've obviously skipped over the other people, but like most people were getting 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. Nobody scored below a 7. So
congratulations to Willie, to Ebhead Rothway, everyone that got a 10 out of 10, everyone that managed that tonight. Fantastic. And thanks to Menno, thanks for everyone for participating. Just great fun, just good fun.
Yeah,
I'm excited to. I hope it's my cadence. I've felt very relaxed tonight, Vin, because of you, because of your company, because of your demeanor, because of what you do, because of the community, because of how familiar I am with it all. It's great to be able to do this a week before I come back. It's just superb. I'm looking forward to next week. Really am.
Good, yeah, and it's obviously my pleasure to have you on as well, to give you kind of like that, like what I've discovered with doing my roundtable things is that obviously I did the first sort of 4 myself, but the minute I handed it over to somebody else and that I didn't have to worry about looking at the tech and looking at the chat and all stuff like that, suddenly I enjoyed them way more.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I'm dual screening here. I've got you over here. In fact, I can see you 3 times here, here, and here. The chat twice I can see. It's just mad. Yeah.
Seeing me 3 times is pretty traumatic, buddy. Well done. Well done.
No, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for joining me for this kind of takeover. As we said earlier, I'm live streaming again in a couple of weeks, which is rare for me. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. That's going to be a bunch of other whiskey tubers coming together to talk about 8-year-old whiskey and maybe something else, whatever I figure out in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm certainly not going anywhere. Roy's not going anywhere. None of us are going anywhere. It's WhiskyTube for the win. The up and up, as they say.
We're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Yeah.
Just keep it ticking over. I think it's saturated now. The community has found out what size it's going to be. It's not a surprise that there's whiskey here anymore on YouTube. People are, growth is not what it used to be. It is for new channels, big, but the ones that are fairly established, we've found their audience, and we're grateful to be a part of it. I think, right? I know
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've said it all along. I mean, I got into WhiskyTube because everyone around me was sick of their ears being bent off about whiskey, and then none of them cared about it. So I needed some sort of outlet for the knowledge I was picking up. So I just decided to pick up a camera, and if nobody watched it, fine. And it turns out that quite a lot of people want to watch it. But the irony of that is that I still need that creative outlet. So if people aren't watching, I'm still going to make the content because I need to say it. I need to keep it out loud.
Yeah.
And I need to keep it away from my family because it does their nut in me talking about whiskey, even now.
And what people forget is that when they're used to traditional media, where only people that got press or TV coverage, radio coverage, whatever it would be, they had to be established, they had to be experts, they had to be in the know. Whereas YouTube completely changes that, it democratizes it. I know it's an overused word, but what it meant is that people like us could just step forward and say, we are here, we love this stuff. It's not kind of to teach or it's to share. It's to share. We know that most of our community are just as, and potentially much, much more, regularly much, much more educated and informed than we are.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't need to be about that. It's just fantastic to share whiskey.
No, without a doubt. And I think that's probably a good place for me to wind it down. My bed is massively calling me.
Your birthday bed, your 8-year celebration bed, your a very occasional live stream post. You'll go to bed, but probably the adrenaline keep you awake till about 2 a.m. if it's anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, once these lights go off, I'll finish what's in my glasses and I'll be in the other room for probably another hour. But no meetings tomorrow.
Well, thanks to Pete over at Jeff's Whiskey for doing the first pop-up vPub, sorry, at the start of the summer break. And thanks to you, buddy, for taking care of another vPub at the end of summer.
I love it. Cheers, Roy. And cheers to everybody who's been watching. We'll see you next week for a proper back to normal vPub.
Thanks to you all. Thank you so much.